Welcome to the Global Focus Review channel. Hagar emerges as a frequently overlooked figure in the Old Testament of the Bible, presenting a captivating narrative as an Egyptian woman involved with the patriarch Abraham. Beyond merely being the mother of Ishmael, her story transcends the simple motherhood of Abraham's firstborn. Surprisingly, Hagar also played the role of the mother of an entire nation, not limited to the Ishmaelites. Have you heard of Hagar? This video will delve into the history of this lesser-known people. I invite all of you to express your appreciation by leaving likes, comments, subscribing to the channel, and, of course, sharing this content with others. The Hagarenes, the descendants of Hagar, are the people who were neither Ishmaelites nor Abraham's descendants. The biblical text reveals that Hagar, a native Egyptian woman descending from Mizraim, the son of Ham, played the role of Abraham's concubine, given to him by her mistress Sarah. Notably, Hagar was originally an Egyptian servant of Sarah. Facing Sarah's difficulty in conceiving children for Abraham, she decided to offer Hagar as a concubine to her husband. Thus, Hagar joined Abraham as a concubine and gave birth to the firstborn Ishmael, whose name means God hears or God listens. Over time, Hagar began to despise Sarah, considering herself the primary woman of Abraham. This led to conflicts, and Sarah, feeling outraged, began to humiliate Hagar. Scholars analyze this narrative of conflict between the two women as an intriguing part of the story. It is crucial to emphasize that Hagar was of Egyptian origin, while Sarah was a Semitic woman from the land of Ur of the Chaldeans, specifically Abraham's half-sister. Sarah belittles Hagar, as the latter sees herself as Abraham's primary woman, disrespecting her mistress. Faced with this, Sarah approaches Abraham and instructs him to rid himself of the servants, ordering Hagar to return to her homeland, Egypt. Hagar's story reaches a crucial point when, confronted with Sarah's hostility after conceiving Abraham's son Ishmael, she decides to flee to the desert in search of refuge. The desert, a symbolic place in the biblical narrative, represents not only a physically arid setting, but also a space of loneliness and spiritual trial. In this challenging environment, Hagar finds herself in a vulnerable situation, far from the safety of Abraham and Sarah's home. It was during this period of exile in the desert that an angel of the Lord intervened in Hagar's life. This divine encounter not only brought comfort, but also conveyed a message of transcendental importance. The angel instructed Hagar to return and submit to Sarah, assuring her that God was aware of her affliction and had plans for the son she carried. This episode highlights not only God's compassion, but also how celestial messengers guide and comfort the afflicted in moments of distress. The desert, which could have been a place of despair for Hagar, became a transformative setting where she experienced the divine presence in a unique way. The encounter with the angel guided Hagar back to her designated role and laid the foundation for the fulfillment of the prophecy related to the son she carried. This part of Hagar's story underscores the complexity of the spiritual journey, where moments of isolation and challenge can become opportunities for divine intervention and the fulfillment of God's promises. Abraham, distressed by Sarah's dissatisfaction with his concubine and their son Ishmael, faces a difficult decision. Although reluctant to dismiss Hagar and Ishmael, God intervenes, reassuring Abraham that he will personally take care of Ishmael. Addressing Abraham, God proclaims his promise for Ishmael, who, while praying in the desert, was heard by God. An angel is sent to prophesy about Ishmael and Hagar, announcing that Ishmael would be the father of 12 princes and the leader of 12 tribes, with numerous and fearless offspring. Reflecting on this, in light of ancient Semitic traditions, it is noteworthy that Abraham, despite being a Semitic man, disobeyed traditions by having a relationship with Hagar, an Egyptian woman. This contradicted God's word that promised descendants through Sarah. Thus, by disrespecting traditions and disobeying the divine word, Abraham sinned in conceiving Ishmael with Hagar, even though the son was blessed as a descendant of Abraham. After Abraham sends Hagar and Ishmael away, Ishmael grows and becomes a skilled archer. He decides to head to the land of Egypt, where his mother arranges a marriage with an Egyptian woman. Ishmael marries, has sons and daughters, prospers greatly, and is blessed by God, who also blesses his mother, Hagar. There are accounts that after an encounter with an angel of the God of Abraham, Hagar starts worshipping this God. The story reveals a distinction, but also a proximity between two peoples. The Ishmaelites, descendants of Abraham through Ishmael, gave rise to Arab tribes. However, in the Middle East, a different scenario unfolds. Hagar's descendants, though less discussed, embarked on a journey, likely after parting ways with Abraham and Sarah. In Egypt, she remarried and, alongside Ishmael, traversed the Sinai Peninsula. Consequently, Ishmael founded the nation of the Ishmaelites, who later merged with the Midianites due to kinship and proximity. On the other hand, Aar played a role in the formation of the Hagarenes, also known as Hagarene. Notably, the Hagarenes did not trace their lineage back to Ishmael, but exclusively to Hagar. As a matriarch, gave rise to a people named after her, unlike the Ishmaelites, who bore the name of Ishmael and his sons. The Hagarenes were distinct from the Ishmaelites, as they did not follow the tradition of adopting the patriarch's name. Hagar, being an Egyptian woman, and her descendants did not adopt the husband's name. Instead, the Hagarenes, through Hagar's children, formed a generation identified by her name. Despite the Ishmaelites having closer ties to the ancient Midianites and the descendants of Esau, the Hagarenes maintained proximity with the Ishmaelites. Notably, the Hagarenes were not descendants of Abraham, but exclusively of Hagar, emphasizing their distinct lineage. In some ancient Semitic traditions, individuals adopted the name of the patriarch, but the Hagarenes, following Hagar's lineage, did not adopt this tribalistic practice. The Bible, in Chronicles, recounts the interactions of the Israelites with the Hagarenes during King Saul's reign. The Israelites faced and defeated the Hagarenes, compelling them to dwell in tents throughout the eastern region of Gilead. Another passage in Chronicles reports further battles between Israel and the Hagarenes, as well as some tribes descended from Ishmael, including Jur, Naish, Noab, Jur, and Naphish. Jur and Naphish are identified as sons of Ishmael, representing some Ishmaelite tribes. Noab may have a relation to Neth, possibly referring to the Naans, an ancient community. In the course of these conflicts, the Israelites, unwavering in their faith and reliance on God, fervently cried out to him for assistance. This fervent plea resulted in the rescue of all the Hagarenes and their allies, who fell into the hands of the Israelites. God's response to this supplication underscored the trust placed in him. Throughout the battle, the Hagarenes, possessing extensive herds that included numerous camels, sheep, and donkeys, as mentioned in verse 21, faced the Israelites. The narrative recounts the Israelites capturing 50,000 camels, 250,000 sheep, and 2,000 donkeys from the Hagarenes. Additionally, they seized over 100,000 Ishmaelites and Hagar. In the Book of Psalms, chapter 83, there are further mentions of the Hagarenes as descendants of Hagar. The text emphasizes a clear distinction between the Ishmaelites, Moabites, and Hagarenes, highlighting the separation despite their common maternal ancestry. This differentiation underscores that the Hagarenes are not considered descendants of Abraham. Some individuals attempt to link Hagar, the Egyptian, with Kurah, a woman of Aramean origin whom Abraham married later. They argue that Hagar and Kurah are the same person, but this theory lacks biblical foundation and is contradictory. The biblical narrative reveals that Kurah's children are 6, while Hagar, who had a son with Abraham, is a distinct individual. The offspring of Kurah and Hagar are never mentioned together. I express gratitude to everyone who has watched the video thus far. May you all be blessed by God, and stay tuned for the upcoming video on the channel. I trust you found the exploration of the origins of the Hagarenes or Hagrites, descendants of Hagar, engaging. See you soon.